question. I'm sure this is probably the weirdest time that you've experienced in the classroom. Um, what have you been doing the last couple of weeks since everyone has been at home?
Well, personally, what I've been doing at home is just doing the same thing everybody else is doing, figuring out just kind of how to go proceed day by day, finding some ways to spend a little bit of time outside and get some air and some fresh air. Um, and then also at the same time, professionally, trying to figure out, okay, where do we go from here? Okay, we walked out of the classroom on March 13th, not knowing when we would be returning. So just kind of trying to learn a little bit and do a little bit and get ready to work with our students, which we started doing a few weeks ago.
Great. So when you've been working with your students, how has that been going? Was it an easy transition? Are your students taking well to it?
Um, I would say that the transition, not necessarily an easy transition, but we had all kinds of support. I can't say enough about the leadership that we have had, just rolling things out a little bit at a time. I mean, all the way from top down, it's just been baby steps for everybody. And we actually started with our students on April 6th. That looks a little bit different in every county. So it's been awesome. I would say one of the best things that has come out of it for me is the opportunity to interact with my students again. It's hard when you don't see them, and not knowing in this uncertain time. It's kind of been very concerning about, just wanting to know that they're doing okay, just wanting to know that they're getting through this the same way that we're all trying to get through this. So that's been a positive. We're using Zoom in Caroline County. I know some of the other counties around the state are doing the same thing. Seeing my students' faces when I get to talk to them on Zoom has absolutely been a highlight. It's wonderful to be able to have that connection when you're used to seeing somebody every day for 180 days, and then all of a sudden you don't see them again. It's really tough. It's been great to be able to work one-on-one with them, which we don't get to do quite as often in the classroom. And now we're getting to do it a little bit more. So that's also been really good. I would say another positive is also that just in the last 3 weeks, I have learned more about technology than I ever have before. So I think I've got a whole new skill set now that I didn't have, I would say, a month and a half ago, things that I didn't know how to do. I'm able to do them now, and, we're making the transition. It's a learning curve, right? And we don't have it perfected yet, but we're working through it together. And administrators, colleagues, parents, students, when we get stuck on something, we kind of all work together to see if we can figure it out for the benefit of the students and the families.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that you're still learning too with the technology. Everybody has had to adjust, no matter what profession you're in. And just to hear that it can be just a new skill set, and having that positive outlook on it is very encouraging. So what does your typical day look like? I know that you're using Zoom and you have opportunities to chat with your students, but just give us a quick, and maybe it's different each day, but give us a quick summary of what you are doing with your kids each day.
Okay. So what I normally do, I go to work. My commute is not that far. I have about 15 steps to get here. And one of the things that was most important to me, and I would say that I can probably speak for most of the teachers around the state of Maryland, is that we want to be able to connect with our students. Okay. And so that's the very first thing that I start with every day. In Caroline County, again, we have been using the platform of Google Classroom for several years now. And so that was a pretty seamless change. The kids know how to get into our Google Classroom. And so what I do every morning, I start off right at 8 o'clock, and I post a connection, what we call a little class connection. And so we wanted it to be something kind of fun, and just a way for them not to just connect with me, But one of the things that I know they're missing in 8th grade is connecting with each other. And so we have come up with these 5 different things we do. So on Monday, we do Make-A-Wish Monday, and they have 4 wishes, and they get to pick which one and tell their classmates on Google Classroom why they picked that. Tuesday is Tell Us To Tuesday. So this week they had to tell us 2 cars they thought should be in everybody's garages. That was fun. Wednesday is a Would You Rather Wednesday, and they have 2 choices. Today is Thought Bubble Thursday. So today my students are responding to their thoughts about laundry. So it's been really interesting. They have some very specific thoughts about laundry, and most of them positive so far. So that's been fun to read. And then tomorrow is Favorites Friday, and they'll tell us something about a specific, I'll give them a topic. But it's been really cool to watch them interact, not just with me about those questions, but to interact with each other and have some really good conversations yesterday about social media. It was fun to watch. So we start off with that kind of connection. And then they have an assignment that's posted. And they will be working in ELA, they're working on 45 minutes. This week, they're working on, again, a platform that we have used in Caroline County before called iReady. So they're working on comprehension, vocabulary skills. Next week, we're going to be doing a little bit more writing with another online program that we're used to using in Caroline. And while they're on that, and because we're not all on at the same time, I use that time. I can monitor their progress. I see where they're having problems. And like you said, we were using Zoom. And on Zoom, I have office hours. And during office hours, I can invite students into the office to talk about things they're struggling with, or just invite them to pop in and, if they have a question or if they just want to say hi. I would say that my highlight has been that my students will pop on just to see how I'm doing. It's like, oh, that just makes me feel good. So I want to know how they're doing, and they want to know how I'm doing. So that's really cool. And just to get a chance to, really, work, if they're having a struggle, just being able to have that face-to-face contact and, do a little demonstration and, just kind of, help them relax a little bit about all of this stuff that's just so new. Then throughout the day, I have meetings with my colleagues. We're planning things for next week. I gather resources that I think will benefit the students. Lots of emails. Some of my students are either don't have access to Zoom, and so they're emailing me questions. I try to send an update out to parents each week to kind of just reassure them that we're figuring this out and everybody's going to be just fine. And so that's basically what the day looks like. I take a little break around lunchtime, and because I do have a lot of my students that tend to have access to computers in the evening because maybe their parents are using them for work during the day. So I have some students and I don't want to leave them out. So I will, sometimes in the evening also get back onto my email and respond to some questions that they have and just kind of support them in any way I can.
Awesome. So, and we just actually had a question come in that sounds kind of similar to this. So when you have your office hours, are they typically a set schedule throughout the week, or is it just like based on what class period you're talking to?
Good question. That was a question that came up quite a bit when we were getting ready to go to this. We weren't quite sure what it was going to look like, and were we going to have class periods, and was I going to meet with my students in my first period during that actual time? But we have to be so much more flexible because of the way that, just because of families and their routines, and with parents who are either working from home and need to use the technology for their own jobs, which then moves their children to the afternoons and evenings to being able to do their work, or parents who are out of the home but want to be there working alongside their students when they're doing the work. So it just has to be flexible. So to answer the question, at this point, I've worked primarily with a set of hours in the morning. But today I'm trying something a little bit different. So I've done half of my, I've done like an hour and a half this morning on Zoom and had a chance to talk to one of my students. And I'm adding some hours later in the day. I'm going to see how that goes. I have also have the freedom to send a personal invite to a student to meet in Zoom if I can see that they're having trouble, and just asking them. It's all part of being connected to them. So if I have a student I know who doesn't have access until later in the day, you tell me what time you're available, and I'll make sure that I'm there to talk to you. So.
Wonderful. And it sounds like you're really keeping up, trying to maintain that connection with your students. So for you personally, what do you miss most about teaching in the classroom?
One of the things that we do in my classroom is we do a lot of discussion. What I miss is seeing the students interact with each other. We do a lot of collaborative work. We work around collaborative teams, and spend a lot of time figuring out in English language arts how we can best communicate, not just through our writing and not just through reading, but also through our discussion skills. And so that's the hardest part. If there's some way that, as we progress, once we find out, whether this is extended closure is going to be extended more, I'd love to see if there's a way that we could, kind of get the students back together where they're talking face to face. I know that that's something that they miss. Mm-hmm. And I miss the energy that you get when you're watching kids work together.
Absolutely. And I can attest to that too. I know that some of my students that I work with, and I don't work with them on a daily basis, but when I love watching them work together and think through things together. So I know it's got to be tough for them. And as people in the school system, it's hard to not be able to see that. I know you shared a couple of positive things that you've seen come out of this, but do you have anything that from watching you learn and go through this process with your students, with your colleagues, with the school system in general, what positives have come out of learning about this way of teaching?
We cannot do this alone. There's no way that you can do this alone. And like I said before, to give credit to the people who have to make the hard decisions, mm-hmm. About how we're going to do this, how are we going to make sure that we're meeting the needs of every single student, how are we going to reach every single student, how are we going to be there to support our students. Those are tough decisions, but the camaraderie, the respect, all of those things that we have with my colleagues that I work most closely with my administration, and it's just everybody supporting everybody else, and it's awesome to see, and I hope that's something that that is reflected out in the community. And talking about the community too, we've been really, really blessed to have the support of our community. Our parents know that we're doing something new and we're asking their students to do something new. And I know that everybody's trying to work around how to make this work, because we all have our own pieces that have to be accomplished every day. And it's been really reassuring and inspiring to see how we can work together.
That's great. I know that connection is everything, and that's something that we strongly believe here at MBRT. But I know that it isn't all, positive. It's hard. It's a transition. So what have been some challenges that you faced in trying to help educate and reach your students?
And reach the students. That's one of the things. In the classroom where you see the students, it's a little bit easier. When a student either doesn't have the ability or the access, maybe to get on a Zoom or to email at a time, when I'm sitting right there, or, we do have, I think all of the counties have students who just don't have access. So they're working on the same work, but not to be able to be right there to help them. I do have students who are emailing me, but in 8th grade too, just part of the whole 8th grade mentality is, I don't want my teacher to see me on Zoom. And so they're a little bit hesitant, I think. So just having that day-to-day connection with every single student, that's kind of hard.
Have your students shared with you any challenges they've had as they've started to explore this new world of e-learning?
I think I would say that we're all in the same boat. The concerns that they express to me and the questions that they have for me are the same kinds of questions. Mrs. Parks, do you think we're going to go back to school this year? I don't know. You know, I wonder the same things. I mean, it's been really nice to be able to give them voice to their concerns and their questions like that.
Sure.
Letting them just sit and talk to me about what they think we should do. And, you know, I've enjoyed that. I would say that kind of they have a lot of anxiety too. They want to know questions too about grading, and you know, and they're concerned working in a different way. What does that look like on my report card? My students will be leaving and going to the high school next year, and I know that they're real excited about that, and so they don't want anything that they're doing now to impact, you know, whatever their grades or whatever. So,
Yeah.
so just having a chance. I mean, you know, we're all waiting. We're waiting for the answers, and we're just moving ahead. And you know, so one of the phrases that I have just started to use with them over the last couple of weeks is, "We're looking for progress, not perfection." Right? So don't worry too much about, you know, if you're not feeling like you're not doing the 100%, not getting the 100%. We don't know what the grades are going to look like yet. So we're just keep progressing, keep progressing. If you do better today than you did yesterday, if you do better the second time than you did the first time, then you're doing a good job.
Awesome. So I mentioned this at the very beginning of this video, but you are Caroline County Teacher of the Year, which congratulations, that is very exciting for the 2019-2020 school year. So how have you been talking with your cohort of other teachers from across the state, and have they helped, have you guys helped support each other through this at all?
In fact, yes, we have. And just a shout out to my cohort. These are the most amazing professionals across the state of Maryland. And I feel so blessed and honored to have had a chance to meet each one of them, because I've learned, I know I have learned from each of them. And I'm just inspired by them. We did, one of the teachers from Somerset County had a great idea to put a positive inspiring little video presentation together to share with the teachers right about the same time that we were all getting back to our classrooms, albeit online. And so we were able to put something together with a message from all of us. And that was a lot of fun to do, but just listening to what other people said was so encouraging. Just, you know, putting my little 2 cents in there, but getting to hear theirs was great. I'm also, you know, we follow each other on Facebook and things, and just watching some of the ideas and the creativity that these teachers have is awesome, in the way that they're connecting with their students. And yeah, just wonderful ideas and very supportive. We're working also on a kind of a little side initiative that we meet on a couple times every month. That we're hoping to put something together that will be beneficial to schools and teachers across the state.
Awesome. So what advice do you have for fellow teachers out there that are figuring out their way through this new way of learning?
Take a breath. Just take a breath. Things are going to be frustrating. Technology is going to be frustrating. Things that you don't have control over, that you're used to having control over, can be very frustrating. And I think in this time, maybe more than any other time, we want to learn how to just, you know, give some things up, right? Put some things aside, take a breath. Remember that we are, and you've heard this 1,000 times, we're all in this together. Everybody's in the same situation. Everybody's may not be facing the exact same struggles and challenges, but we're all facing struggles and challenges. So be positive for your students, and that's all you can do. Make those connections, and you know, use this opportunity to learn. I would say that I spoke with a first-year teacher just the other day, and I was telling her, I said, you know, at the end of this year, your first year, you're probably going to face as many challenges in your career as you ever will face, and you've done it all your first year, so you are ready to go.
There you go. And I love that. I mean, that advice, I mean, really can apply for almost anybody right now, because we're all in this together. It is such a different and challenging time that we're all facing. But at the same time, as long as we stick together and we keep that positive mentality, we really all are going to come out of this on even stronger. So we're just about at the end of our time, but before I let you go, is there anything else that you would like to share with any of our audience watching?
I would say that when I'm talking to my students, so if I'm talking to students or if I'm talking to parents right now, relax, set up some kind of a routine, and reach out. Okay, so relax. We all understand that there are struggles, and we're going to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Set up a routine, because it's going to make it easier. That's one of the things that we're missing, is the normal routine. So now we have a new normal, so we need a new routine to go with it, and it will make things run a little bit more smoothly. And reach out. If you're a parent and you have questions, reach out to your teachers. If you're a student and you have questions, or you're struggling, or you're just feeling off a little bit, reach out. We're all there to support each other.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking time out of your morning to be a part of this and share your perspective. I know it's been super useful for me to hear it, and I'm sure it's been very useful to everyone who's listening. So we're going to take all of that really great information, and we're going to apply it to our lives, encourage our students. Hopefully this is also encouraging for parents as well. For today, for Maryland Business Roundtable for Education, on behalf of MBRT and myself, thank you, Mrs. Parks. Thank you for tuning in to hearing about a teacher's perspective, and have a great day. We'll see you next time.